Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to solve these difficult vectors questions in GCSE Maths. Now, this is a grade 9 topic, and that means that these questions can be quite difficult in the exam, but they also reward you with a lot more marks. So you can get anywhere between 4 to 6 marks. As a result, it's very important to get these questions correct if you want to get that grade 9 at GCSE. So I'm going to go over some tips and tricks and methods on how you can solve some typical vectors questions that you could encounter, and hopefully that will get you that beautiful grade 9 on results day. So here I have an example question. In terms of vectors, what they are is essentially pathways. So in this question, they give you OA equals A and OB equals B, which means when you want to go from O to A, the vector for that is A. So that pathway is A. The vector tells you the length of that path, and it also tells you the direction of that path. So this specific direction and length has been assigned the letter A. And if you want to then go from O to B, that's a different direction and a different length, denoted by the letter B. It is very important that you pay attention to the direction. So I showed you to go from O to A, you have to use the pathway A. But when you go from A to O, because now you're going in the opposite direction, you have to use a minus sign. So A to O would be minus A. So let's now get into the question. It's very important that you read the question because these questions are often quite detailed. They'll give you quite a lot of information that you need to absorb. So I suggest that you annotate the diagram that they'll usually give you. They've already given you A and B, so you don't need to annotate that. But they give you the point P in the question, which is on the line AB, such that the ratio between AP and PB are 1:3. What that means is that if we divide the line AB into 4 parts, so if you add 1 and 3, you have 4, you split them into 4 parts, the line from A to P would be a quarter because it's 1 part, and the line from P to B would be 3 parts, so it's 3/4 of the total length. So we can mark that on. It doesn't matter exactly where it goes as long as you know which line is shorter. So here we know that A to P is a shorter line. It's 1/4 AB. And remember the arrow. Then for this one, same direction, but it's 3/4 AB instead of 1/4. So that's all the information that they've given you in the question. Now, they want you to find the value of K, and as a result, we want to get the path from O to P in the form that they've given you, which is K times brackets 3A plus B. So the first step I recommend doing is you find what AB actually is. And the way you can do that is you can go from A to O, then O to B, A to O plus A to B. Sorry, I meant O to B. And we can then simplify this because we know that A to O is minus A, and we know that O to B is positive B. We can denote it as minus A plus B. Now the little lines I've drawn under the letters is because vectors are always bold lowercase letters, and because you cannot write in bold, obviously, it's often denoted with a line underneath. So that shows it's a vector and not just a variable. So here we have the vector for AB, and because now we want to take the path from O to P, we go from O to A, and then A to P. Alright, so to go from O to P, that will equal OA plus AP. And we already know what OA is, and we can now calculate what AP is because we know what AB is. So that will equal A plus 1 over 4 AB, which can be denoted as minus A plus B. And then we simplify that down. So we have A minus 1 over 4 A plus 1 over 4 B. And that will then give you 3 over 4 A plus 1 over 4 B. Now we want to get that in the form of K times 3A plus B. And by looking at what we have here, I think we can quickly notice how we can get to that form. Essentially, we pull out the 1 over 4 because it's a common factor, and then we have 3A plus B on the inside. So when you multiply what's inside the brackets by 1/4, you'll get that again. So now we have it in the form that they want us to have it in. We can then determine what K is, because this equation here, it gives you K 3A plus B. So now we know that K is 1 over 4. This is one of the easier questions, but it's also quite a common question, and it should be a simple 4 marks as long as you read the question and make sure that you're doing the correct directions for the vectors. Now, moving on to a slightly harder question here. This has a bit more detail, which is why it's so important to read the question. They've already given you the parts OA and OB. Then they give you the point C, which is a point on OA, such that OC to CA has a ratio 4:1. So again, we add 4 and 1, we get 5. We divide OA by 5, so you do 5A divided by 5, which will give you A. And we can mark point C here, for example. So we know that one part of OA is just A. So we know that CA is A, and we know OC equals 4A. I highly recommend writing down these vectors in full. So writing down CA equals A, OC equals 4A, simply because you don't want to confuse yourself with this 5A here. Because often what people will do is, when they're calculating later on, they'll say OC equals 5A, which is wrong because OA is equal to 5A. So it's very important you write it down quite clearly. We also know that M is the midpoint of AB, which makes it very easy to note that this A to M is half AB, and M to B is half AB as well. And they also have the point D, which is given by the ratio OB to OD is 3:4. This is where it's very important to read the question, because unlike the previous question and the previous ratio we were given, what this ratio gives you is a ratio of O to B to the entire length of O to D. Previously, what we've seen is we have, for example, with this one, they give you the ratio of O to C to A. So there's a slight difference in how you calculate it, but it's not any harder. Essentially, you know that OD, the entire line, has 4 parts in it, and the line OB has 3 parts in it. What that means is that we know that one part would be just b because we do 3b divided by 3, and therefore when we multiply it by 4, we get that the line OD can be denoted by the vector 4b. And that's why that would mean that the vector from b to d would just be b because you do 4b minus 3b, which gives you b. So that's all the information that they've given us on this question, and we've marked it all down on the diagram. The question asks you to show that C, M, and D are on the same straight line. Now, it's a slightly different question, slightly harder, but essentially in this question what you want to do is you want to show that CM equals N times MD. So essentially you want to prove that CM is parallel to MD, and if I give you an example, so you have the vector A and you have the vector 3A. Essentially these two are parallel because they both have the vector A, and this number 3 simply means that this vector here is 3 times longer than A. So that's what we call a scalar multiple, and it's just showing you how many times longer it is. But the actual vector part for both is just A, which means that they're parallel. So we want to show that CM is parallel to MD, and the way we can do that is by showing that when you multiply MD by a number, you get CM. So before we do anything, we want to start by defining what AB is. So the vector AB can be denoted by minus 5A plus 3B. So we've taken this path here, and we've taken this path here. It's just AO plus OB. When you do that, you now have AM, the value of AM. So when you want to go from C to M, that will be CA plus AM. And we already know what CA is. We know that it's A. And we now know what AM is. It's simply a half of AB, which is 5A plus 3B. And now again, we want to expand the brackets. So we have A minus 5 over 2A plus 3 over 2B. Now, if we simplify this, we will get minus 3 over 2A plus 3 over 2B. And this will help us later on by, if we just pull that 3 over 2 out, this will help us later on in the question. So it's always good to factorize out the scalar factor. Now, we want to get the vector for MD. Now, MD equals, essentially you want to go from down this pathway and down this pathway. And that gives us MB plus BD, which then we can denote as half minus 5A plus 3B, because we know that AB is equal to that, and then we add B. So that takes us from M to D. Now all we have to do is now expand this out, we have minus 5 over 2a plus 3 over 2b plus b, which gives you minus 5 over 2a plus 5 over 2b. Now, again, what we can do here is we can factor out the 5 over 2, you get minus a plus b. So, what we've now got here is Cm equals nmd, and because we know what Cm already is, it's 3 over 2 minus a plus b equals n times 5 over 2 minus a plus b. And we can calculate what n is simply by trying to think of how can we get from 3 over 2 to 5 over 2. And if we just do 3 over 2 equals 5 over 2n, because we can cancel out the minus a plus b parts, we can do n equals 3 over 2 divided by 5 over 2, which will give you 3 over 5. So now that we know that Cm equals 3 over 5 times md, the final part that you have to do is, for your answer, I'll write my answer in this little box, we can show that Cm equals 3/5 md, and the two lines share the common point M, therefore CMD is a straight line. And in fact, actually what I would do is I would also add from this bit shows CM is parallel to MD, because by doing that calculation we have proven that CM is parallel to MD, and because they have that common point M, that means that C to M to D is a straight line. They all go in the same direction. Therefore, we have answered the question. It is very important that you reference these 2 points. So the fact that they're parallel and the fact that they have the common point M, that's where the marks are going to be. And by writing this final sentence, you've given them the answer they're looking for. You've shown that C, M, and D are on the same straight line. Now I'm going to show a third question. This has a parallelogram. So this sort of also tests your knowledge of shapes. And before we do anything at all, because we know it's a parallelogram, we can quickly mark that that is also 2B, because it's parallel, the AC is parallel to OB and also the same length. So they give you OA and OB, which is already marked on the diagram. They tell you that point D is on OC such that the ratio between OD and DC is 2:1. So again, we split the line O to C into 3 parts. We know that O to D is 2 of those parts, so that's 2/3 OC, and therefore that's 1/3 OC. and we draw the arrows. And they also tell you that E is the midpoint of BC. Now we know that BC is parallel to OA, and if we divide 2A by 2, we get two parts, each with the vector A. So we know that B to E would be given by the vector A, and E to C be also given by the vector A. And this question also asks us to show that A, D, and E are on the same straight line. And this is quite simple, as I'm going to demonstrate to you now. So again, we want to show that AD equals NDE. So for some multiple n, we can say that DE times n will give you AD, therefore they're parallel. Now, to go from A to D, we can take this pathway here, and to do that, we need to calculate first what OC is. So OC equals OA plus AC, which can then be denoted by the vector 2A plus 2B. Now that we have OC, we can then calculate the line AD. So AD equals AC plus CD, which gives you 2B. So as we know, AC is already, we've written as 2B. And you add minus 1/3 2A plus 2B. So notice how I've done the minus there. In fact, we can get rid of this plus here. Notice that minus because we're now going in the opposite direction. Before we know that DC is going like that. And so if we're going the opposite direction, we have to use a negative sign. And we can then simplify this to 2B minus 2 over 3A minus 2 over 3B, which gives you minus 2 over 3A, and so this 2 is just 6 over 3, so 6 over 3 minus 2 over 3 gives you 4 over 3, plus 4 over 3B, and again, we can take that factor out of 2/3, get minus A plus 2B. So that's our vector for AD. Now what we want is the vector for D to E. So DE can be denoted by DC plus CE, which we can simplify to 1/3 2A plus 2B, as we know that that's the length of OC, the vector for OC. And then to go from C to A, it's just minus A. So that equals 2/3 A plus 2/3 B minus A. And because that A is just 3 over 3A, we can do minus 1/3 A, so it's 2/3 minus 3 over 3, plus 2/3 B. And again, we can take out that factor of 1/3 minus A plus 2B. So now we know that AD equals n dE. And to calculate n, again, we can do 2/3 minus a plus 2b, so that's our vector for AD, equals n times 1/3 brackets a plus 2b. That's our vector for DE. And this is quite simple, so you know that to go from 2/3 to 1/3, you simply have to multiply by a half. So we know that n equals a half. And so now you just want to write that final statement, which is AD equals half DE. Therefore, AD is parallel to DE, and they share the common point D. Therefore, AD and E are on the same straight line. And that's your answer. So altogether, to sum up everything that we've done in this video, remember to always thoroughly read the question, especially the ratios that they give you. Don't just skim over them, because sometimes, as we saw in the question here, they can give you different ratios, and you want to make sure that you get the right values for the vectors so you get the right answer in the end. And never ever forget to mark the direction. The direction is so important. I cannot stress enough. Direction of vectors is so important. A single minus or plus, any sign error, can mess up your entire answer, and it's just long to go through all of your working out again. It's also very important to have very clear working out, so you know that if you go wrong at any point, you can go back, you can check. So if you accidentally put from C to A, you did A to B instead of A to M, for this one here, you can quite easily go back and fix that if you're writing down everything that you're doing. And even if you don't get the answer, good working out can often get you a couple of marks, which is always better than getting 0 out of 4 or 0 out of 6. So yeah, that's the gist of vectors. If you want me to go over any specific content, any topics, do let me know down in the comments. Please do like the video if you found this helpful. Share the video with your friends. Good luck for your exams. Hope you all get a grade 9. Subscribe to the channel for more. Thank you.